What's up, guys? It's James here, and I'm back with another PSVR PC tutorial. And today, what we're going to be doing is creating some pretty awesome positional tracking using nothing but a ping pong ball and an LED. Now, this is a super easy way to hack your positional tracking so that you just don't have rotational tracking, that you're also able to track your head in positional 3D space as well. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this one. Hey guys, we're here at Dollarama, and there's Jay Lynn, and we are looking for a product that I think is going to work really well. We're just going to see if we can see it. I'm going to just come over here. And this is what I'm talking about. For $1.25, finger lights. They have a little LED and they're colored, and they should work fantastic for our setup. So look for these, super cheap, and they got the batteries already. They're perfect. Okay, well, here we are at Walmart, and unfortunately they are sold out of ping pong balls. They would have been $3.97. So I'm kind of forced to buy the paddle with the balls in there so that I can at least get a ping pong ball. This is a little more expensive, but I need the ball. So I could go to another store. I'm just gonna buy it because the kids want to play with the paddles as well. And that should work. All right, we're back at my workshop here at home, and here's all the things that you're going to need. As you can see, we've got the finger lights that we picked up. This is a little connector. It's a pipe connector, and I'll explain what that's for in a second. I've got an actual PSMOVE controller here just for reference. You can see how the size of the ping pong ball is smaller than the actual Move controller ball. That's not a big deal. I've got some Velcro tape. We'll look at that in a second. And I'm going to just show you how we're going to put this all together. It's pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science, but I just want to show you how I did it. Okay, first off, when you get your ping pong ball, there's probably going to be some writing on there. And you want to make sure that the ball is completely white. So what I did is I just took a sanding pad and I rubbed off the writing. Came off really easy, and I got that ball completely white. Then what I did is I took an X-Acto knife, we'll just let that roll away. I took an X-Acto knife and I cut an X into the bottom of the ping pong ball. All right, and you can kind of see what I did here. I'm just going to take this little piece of paper and I'll explain what I did there as well. Actually, I might not be able to. It might be stuck in there good. That's okay. But I cut an X into the bottom of the ping pong ball with the X-Acto knife. And then what I did is I took a little square of paper, that's what you kind of see stuffed in there, to spread the light out evenly. Otherwise I was getting a hot spot at the top of the ping pong ball. So then I can slip this in like this, and when I turn the light on, again, it's hard to see because I've got a lot of outside light here. You can see that it illuminates the ball. I'm using white in this case. You can use whatever color you want. Then what I did is I took this connector and I just oil it up a little bit here. And you just have to find some sort of tubing that is going to fit this piece as closely as possible. And this was actually just like a perfect fit. So I just slipped that into there. Could turn the light on if I wanted to. Push it down. And then as an optional sort of last step, whoops, must have pushed it too far. Hang on a second. So you can see how that kind of sits in there, like that, beautifully. And I just put the little ball on top. I could push it down just so it becomes even. And then I could hot glue around there, but I decided not to because if I ever want to change this thing out, it's one less thing that I have to worry about after. So that's our little light up ball. Again, it's not easy to see with all this light on right now how bright it is, but it is illuminated. Okay, and that's enough for the tracker to find it. One last thing I did is I took some Velcro tape, and this stuff is super useful for a lot of reasons. Okay, but I cut a little piece of Velcro tape on the bottom, sealed up the bottom of this, and then on my headset, I modified it from the last video where I was actually using a controller, but put a little pad here. And I just let this sit on top of the headset, just like that. And I just kind of twist it a bit so it gets really stuck on there. And you can see how that fits on top of that headset beautifully. Because it's high up, it's going to track beautifully. So it's not rocket science or anything, it's pretty easy to do, but that's going to work great for your head tracking. All right, so positional tracking with a ping pong ball, super awesome, super easy to do, and as you just saw in my video of us going to get the supplies for that, we have assembled, oops, I'm just going to turn it on, we have assembled a ping pong ball tracker, and this is what it looks like. The light is on, and this is going to allow the computer to track our head movements in 3D space. So whether we're moving closer or further or left and right, or if we're peeking around corners, this is what's going to allow the computer to actually track that. Now there's a few things we're going to need for this to work. Alright, first off, we're going to need the calibration mat. Now I taped it to a box, but I'll have the link for that in the description below. You're going to need to print that off on an 8.5 by 11 paper, and that's going to work really good. And what that's important for is it gives the computer and the cameras a reference point for where you are from a known location. So if I look here, I've got Trinus all ready to go. It's already running, and my headset's all good to go already. I've got my little tracker, and what I'm going to start by doing in order to get this to work is I'm going to have PSMOVE service. In this case, it's going to be the VR Bridge, which is their new version, 1.30, not 13. I read that wrong. And what I'm going to do is first off just check. I've got two cameras, and you're going to need PSI cameras. You can't get around that. But what this will allow you to get around is the fact that you don't have to buy another PSMOVE controller. Saves you a good chunk of money. And what we're going to do here is we're going to run the PSMOVE service just the way that it is. We're not going to do anything else except run this one time as an administrator. And I'm going to say yes. It's going to run. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's going to set up its files. Now, if you haven't used PSMOVE service before, I suggest you watch my controller setup video. Super helpful for this. But you are going to have to install the drivers. So if you haven't done it before, you're going to have to install the drivers first, the initial setup, and then it's going to work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my app data folder. Okay, so I'm going to just type that into my search here. And I'm going to look for this folder called PSMOVE service. And inside here you're going to see a bunch of JSON files. Okay, now JSON files are basically the programming language that PSMOVE service uses to work. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go to HMD Manager Config, and we're going to open that up. And you want to tell it that you have one virtual HMD on. This will be set to 0 by default. So that is HMD Manager Config.json. Set it to 1. And now when you run PSMOVE services, okay, so once I run that, it's going to tell us here that it has opened up a device with an ID of 0 for a virtual HMD, which is basically this tracker that it's going to be tracking. inside here you'll see one called Virtual HMD 0. And I'm going to open that. Now you can use Notepad++, or in this case I'm using brackets. I'm going to just double click that, open it up, and you should see inside this file a section of the file that says bulb radius. Okay, so you see right here bulb radius, and because the ping pong ball is smaller than the PSMOVE controller, we want to set our bulb radius. It will be set to 2.25. You want to set that to 2. That's what I've already done here. Bulb radius of 2. Very important because it needs to know that the reference light is, or ball is smaller. And if it is any different, let's say you got a different size ball for whatever reason, just measure it and put the number in centimeters of the size of that ball. That's important. Okay, so we're going to just close that off. The next one, and actually what you should do to do it properly after you save it, is you should close PSMOVE service. Okay, and I don't see where mine is running here. Okay, but then you would close that off and open it again. So I'm going to run it again. This tells us that it's now working, or at least it's ready to work. So we're going to leave PSMOVE services down for now. You want to make sure that it is still running. Very important. Okay, we can now close off these JSON files now that they're saved. I'm just going to close that, and I can run the PSMOVE config tool, which is where we're actually going to be able to tell it how to track this little ball. So let's open that up and just hit connect. And we have no controllers. It's not a controller, so we are going to go straight to tracker settings. And the tracker, don't worry about the color. It's saying that the virtual is blue. Doesn't matter, because we're going to tell it what color it is. And this is where we're going to need the calibration mat. So I'm going to put the calibration mat up on my desk so that both of my cameras up here can see it. And you'll notice on the calibration mat, mine's a little busted up, but it has numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put it on number 1. And first what we want to do is we want to make sure that our cameras can actually see the light on this little tracker ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the lights, because I like to have it low light, because this LED is not super powerful. I'm going to go low light, and I'm going to tell it to look for that color. So here we are now with our little tracker ball. Now this might seem like a lot of work, but you only have to do it once. And as long as your cameras don't move, it's going to work every time. So we're going to go calibrate the tracker color, first of all. And what I'm going to do is, you'll see that I've got my 2 trackers and they both see the ball, as you can tell. I'm going to right click on the ball. And I'm going to switch to masked, and you can see that it finds it beautifully. Now one thing I had to do, and you see I've got a little bit of conflict here with my headset. One thing that I had to do was I had to bring up the exposure for that ball, because I found that the ball was just too dim. And so I did tweak the exposure a bit just to get it more on the ball. Okay, and I really wanted to make sure that the headset wasn't getting tracked as well. Okay, so that was important for me anyways, that I just had the ball. Now I'm using white, and white may not be the best color to use either. Because there is a bit of a conflict with the headset, but it still works great. So I didn't notice any problems at all. But there you go. You want it to be nice and solid, and you want it to be able to see just that ball perfectly. Now if I go to my tracker camera 2, or sorry, tracker camera 1, which is my other camera, see a little bit of black in there. So what I'll do is I'll just clean that up. I'm using my exposure and gain. And I can just kind of click in here and try to get it as best as possible. But that's going to still give me a really good reading right there. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to save it, I'm going to apply it, I'm going to go back to my tracker settings. Now the most important thing is to compute your poses using HMD for this. All right, if I had controllers set up as well, I would have this in a separate section below. But we're going to compute tracker poses. This is where I'm going to need the tracker map. And I'm going to check that both trackers see it, and they do perfectly. Okay, so I say, looks good. Now because there is no gyro in these things, it doesn't know if it's stable. So I gotta tell it that it's at location 1 right now. So I say, trust me, it's stable. It takes a reading. I take it and move it to location 2, and I tell it, trust me, it's stable. Location 3, trust me, it's stable. Location 4, trust me, it's stable. And the last one, location 5, once again. And once that's done, check it out. You can see that as I move this ball around, it is telling the headset to move as well. Now we don't have rotation because the rotation is handled by the headset. I can now get rid of this calibration map. And I can attach the ball to the top of my PSVR. So you can see there's the ball attached with the Velcro to the top of the headset. And I'm just going to close this off. I can just return to main menu, exit. This will close. And now we have it set up. The cameras are able to see it, but we have to tell it now to track that ball. And the way we're going to do that, again, super easy, and links will be in the description to all this stuff. Inside my PSMOVEFREEPIEBRIDGE release 14, this is what actually tells the headset to track it. So inside here, I'm just going to close this one, we won't need it anymore. We have a PSMOVEFREEPIEBRIDGE. We're going to run that. And it's asking us what device are we wanting to track. And we're going to be tracking an HMD, so we're going to hit 1. And if you remember from the beginning of the video, the ID of the device was 0. You hit OK, hit enter there, and it says that we have acquired it. And you can see now, well, you can't see yet, but it is telling us that it sees it and it knows that it's there. So we got to leave this running as well. We're just going to put it down, and it's running down there. Okay, now if everything's working well, which I'm going to assume that it is, we'll see, we can now run our Steam. And in this case, in this game, we're going to, in this video, we're going to play Dreadhalls, which is a great game. It uses positional tracking well. I've got my controller here as well, so we're going to play with gamepad. And it's a seated experience, so this will work well for this video. So we're going to run Steam in administrator mode. Yes. That'll load up. It shouldn't have to update, but we'll see. And hopefully I don't lose you when the video, or sorry, when the game comes on. But if you have not played Dreadhalls, it is an extremely scary game. Simple, but very scary, very immersive, and it works great with our tracker here, the positional tracking, especially when you're peeking around corners and that. It's awesome. Okay, so let's get that going. And we're also going to run SteamVR as well, and that's going to be in administrator mode. Here it goes. And now just to show you that the positional tracking is working off of this little ball, once SteamVR loads up here, we're going to come into their new, well, it's not that new now, but the room that they've created for Steam users. I'm just going to let that load. And you see down here we've got 2 cameras detected and a base station and the headset. And watch what happens now. If I take this and I move it forward and back, you will see that those lines on the grid are also changing. Okay, they're moving further and closer away. So we know that it's working. Now here's where you get a really good idea. Normally we would just have rotation, but now you'll see the sign becomes further and closer as we move the headset. And that's what we wanted. That's what that ping pong ball is doing. Alright, so it's kind of ghetto, but it's doing a good job. Now let's send this screen to the headset. Shift, Windows, left. It's now in the headset. So we're going to go into my Steam. We're going to go to VR. We're going to find Dread Halls. There it is. And we're going to play it. So we're going to play the game in seated SteamVR mode. And here it goes. Here we go. Okay, so the game is loading up. I'm just going to get back into my Steam here, and I'm just going to move this window so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And I'm just going to go into the game. Got to put on my headset now. And I'm just going to show you that it is working perfectly. Now I'm going to use my controller for this, and I'm going to go continue. But you can see already, maybe you can, maybe you can't, as I move my head, it is moving in the game just as it should. So I'm going to continue my game. Now I just started this game. I haven't played too much of it, but it is awesome. And I really like it. So here I am in the game. And let me just show you an example. Now let's say I'm sneaking up and I'm trying to look around this corner. You can see that as I move my head, I'm able to peek around the corner like that. And that really adds another level of immersion. Now if I want to look in the well, I can tilt my head up and look down in there. Normally if I was rotating, I would just be stuck in one spot like this. And I didn't have that extra access of you know, being able to rotate my head and look around. Now it works excellent. It works fantastic. Well, I'm just going to reset my view. Yeah, I was a little tall there. But you get the idea that with just a very simple ping pong ball and that virtual HMD running, I get a really good tracking system for super cheap, probably less than 10 bucks. Okay, so you can see that this works really well. The game is really good if you want to try a very scary, immersive experience in VR. Then I recommend this game, Dread Halls. It's not that expensive. I think it was like 10 bucks. And like I said, it works great. Now, here I am in the kind of in the first level here. Now I'm not gonna play too much. All right, and I don't know why I'm so tall right now, but that's not a big deal. That's just a reset issue, I think. But here we go into the scary darkness. You can see that's running great. And like I said, that head tracking is working great. No problems. I have to refill my oil. Here we go. Okay, and you can see that, hopefully you can see what I see, but like I said, very scary game. Ooh, peeking into the dark. Ooh, you don't want to play it late at night by yourself, otherwise you're going to be creeped out. Anyways, I'm just going to quit to the main menu. Yep. We'll just exit the game here. Okay. Anyways, guys, I hope that helps. This is a very cost-effective way of having head tracking working. It works with every game out there, pretty much. You're not going to have any issues. Now, this works for for seated experiences, but it also works for room scale experiences as well. So if you want to, you know, try this with other games as well, let me know how it works. Let me know if you find any issues with it. I think it's great. I think it works excellent, and it's a lot lighter than having to have your PSMOVE controller on the top of your head. And it's cheaper, and that's always a good thing as well. Anyways, if you found this video useful, make sure to like or subscribe down below. And I will be, creating a lot more content in the upcoming weeks. I got a lot of good stuff planned for you, so stay tuned. Till next time, have fun. See you later.